Yeah, that's coming off a bit buzzy. Hey, everybody, welcome back to 2000 Hours of Banjo. My name's still coughing. My name is Mark, the host of this channel and the experiment subject of this channel that's trying to see if an adult beginner like me with no experience in the past in music whatsoever can learn how to play this banjo in about 2000 hours. Now, my last short but unintentionally long video, I mentioned some things about my arm, the banjo strap, and this box behind me. And I was alluding to what you probably already figured out is another injury, and I'm a bit bummed by it. I have self diagnosed, I haven't gone to the doctors yet, a case of golfer's elbow, or what they call medial epicondylitis, which is an inflammation, or I don't know if it's an inflammation or not, but it's pain on the inside of the elbow where the tendons and ligaments kind of connect. Was it tendons attached to the bone and ligaments attached to tendons or something like that? Anyway, whatever, right here at the anchor point of all the muscles that allow me to flex my hand and my fingers is aggravated and painful. And that pain is radiating down my forearm, up my arm, my shoulder's involved. Although I have to say, my shoulder was already kind of irritated to begin with. For those long term viewers, you know that about a year and a couple months ago, around Christmas time 2023, I developed frozen shoulder syndrome, which is kind of a severe version of bursitis, where it's really painful to move your arm away from your side, hence frozen shoulder. My case was fairly mild, thankfully. I've seen severe cases. One of my coworkers had a severe case, and he literally could not get his arm away from his side without excruciating pain. Mine hurt a lot, but not as bad as his. Now, back then, I thought that this happened right after I spent an afternoon screwing in those little hooks that you hang Christmas lights on and the eaves around this whole house. And I figured that's what caused it. But I'm starting to think that was yet another banjo related injury. And if I count that as a banjo related injury, then this golfer's elbow is injury number 4 in 2 years and 4 months that I've suffered a repetitive stress injury from playing the banjo. The first one was from arcing my wrist too much and getting a strain in my index finger, which has resolved thankfully now that I've corrected my position, but that took a long time. The other was the shoulder, and we'll count that one, the shoulder, the frozen shoulder syndrome, which I'm still dealing with a year and 4 months later. My understanding is it takes about 2 years to heal from a frozen shoulder injury. And then I had like a strain in my middle finger on my picking hand that lasted about 2 weeks. Although, honestly, I may not call that a banjo related injury because I was working on my motorcycle, putting on some new tires, and I was jamming my fingers between the tire and the rim and probably just jammed it doing that. So let's go ahead and subtract that one from the number of banjo related injuries that I've gotten. And now the golfer's elbow. Um, this one actually developed a few months ago. I was starting to feel cramping in my hand, in the palm of my hand, and my forearm a little bit. My forearm was getting like warm, and I wasn't sure what it was. Uh, I, I figured it was a repetitive stress injury, and I was icing it and giving it some Advil and so forth. And this was occurring since January. As some of you guys know, I attended a banjo camp in February, which was 2 days of 8 hours a day of playing banjo. And um, even though I would absolutely do that banjo camp again, this was the Wernick method. That was kind of the the thing that set off the golfer's elbow in full merit. It was pretty bad, and it's been pretty bad on occasion. if I aggravate it. And this gets into the whole, well, how am I going to recover from this? What is it doing actually? Well, the banjo elbow, the golfer's elbow, I guess we could call it banjo elbow. Why not? The golfer's elbow, and again, undiagnosed, but I'm just going to call it golfer's elbow for now. If if I'm fretting too much in a practice, the next day my just weakness in the hand, pain grabbing and gripping things. Certainly, the next day's practice trying to fret is very very painful. Painful radiating up the arm. It's just very uncomfortable, and it sucks. To be honest, it really sucks. So I mentioned the one thing, overworking it. The key here, I think, is to not overwork it. I guess the key here is to figure out what caused it. Okay, banjo and practicing banjo. I'm old. I'm 50. I guess, there's older banjos out there than I am, but I'm not a spring chicken anymore, and I don't heal as quickly. And from what I gather from YouTube, which is where I get all my medical advice, don't you? I mean, that's where we go. Honestly, I trust a doctor less than I trust the internet at this point. But since I'm not young anymore, my body doesn't recover as quickly as per this cough. This has been like 3 weeks after the cold has ended, and I'm still coughing. I am overstressing the muscles and the tendons and not giving it enough time to recoup. Okay, cool. So, what does that mean? Does it mean I need to practice less? Does it mean I need to add a gap day between practices? So, do a practice every other day or every other day? Is that how you say that? Every third day instead of every second day or every other day? Um, or do I need to shorten my practices because for a bit there, I was practicing 1.5 hours to 2 hours a day. Does it need to go down to half an hour every other day? Well, that's really going to affect my progress, and it's going to make the journey to opening this box a lot longer. Like I'm 100 hour, 100 and who knows, maybe like 130 hours away from getting to open this box. And I want it to be that in 2025. If I start doing a half-hour practice every other day, it's going to be 2026 before I get to open this damn box. And that's going to suck. We don't want that. So what am I trying to do? Well, you kind of heard it at the beginning of this video. That buzzing from the when I was playing Boil Them Cabbage Down, that's coming from really light fretting. I'm fretting extraordinarily light in order to try to prevent overworking the muscles and therefore overworking the tendon and the ligament, and help give myself less stress to heal from, and therefore kind of turn the curve on this process of recovery and get towards full functioning. But that, excuse me, I swear this cough, I blame my wife. Uh, that gets to the question of, well, okay, so do I have to play Buzzy for the rest of my career? My understanding, again, from the internet, and don't take this as any type of medical advice, but is what I need to do is I need to do some eccentric muscle exercises. I've been overworking the kind of flexion motion, and I need to work on the opening motion and strengthen up that connective tissue. And over time, it will be able to withstand what I inflict upon it and not have to recover because it's handling the load it can handle. And that's going to take time. That's going to take 3, 6, 9 months, maybe a year. Who knows? And that is why during this time, I'm focusing a lot of effort on right hand technique. Again, if you've been watching this video a lot, I guess the timing's perfect for this type of injury because I just recently switched my right hand position from kind of a cupping open hand position to a more traditional position that I've seen a lot more other banjo players use. And honestly, I feel that I can get a lot more power and a lot better tone. And I'm going to do a breakdown of how this process has been evolving and how hard it was in another video. But I believe that the effort that I've been putting into my right hand has been paying off and will continue to pay off. And over the next 3, 6, 9 months, while I continue to focus on my right hand, I will get better and better and better. Now, does it mean that I'm not going to do any left hand technique? No, I am. I absolutely am. As you saw in the beginning, I was playing with my left hand. But for now, until I can kind of get in front of the aggravation of the elbow, I'm only practicing with my left hand, the fretting, every other day, and I'm limiting it to about half a practice. And right now I'm doing about an hour practice per day. So at most I'm doing a half hour of fretting, very light fretting every other day. And in addition to that, I'm doing a lot of eccentric exercises. I'm doing the usual ice rest. Well, in a way, this is rest, right? Doing every other day, only half hour, and Advil. But that only goes so far, and I only want to do that for so long because after a while, the Advil or the Aleve starts to upset my stomach. So I don't want to do that for too long. I'm also alternating with heat. And again, I hate to say this, I feel like I'm saying this a lot, but I've got a lot of material to cover. I will probably cover all the things that I'm trying to recuperate and heal my golfer's elbow in another video. And that's going to explain these uh, rubber bars. They're called flex bars. They're therapeutic for physical therapy. I'll explain what these are for and how I'm using them along with other things that I'm doing, which includes the strap, right? I mentioned that I'm putting the strap on the right elbow for shoulder instead of the left shoulder. And that's because I'm trying everything. This is a shotgun approach where I'm trying the ice and the Advil and the rest, and then I'm trying heat, and then I'm trying some strengthening exercises and physical therapy. I'm trying to alter my practicing habit to allow for healing, and also I'm trying to reposition how I'm bearing the weight of the banjo. Granted, this is not very heavy, and switching the shoulder of the strap from the left arm to the left shoulder to the right shoulder. In part, and again, if you're a long-term viewer, you've heard the story where I actually shattered my collarbone, and I've got a plate and 7 screws up here. I don't know if that is playing a role. I do know that the strap hurts all the time when it's resting on the plate and the screws. I can feel it. I'm not a big guy. My collarbone's, it's right there. In fact, if I probe my finger, I could seriously feel the Phillips head top of one of the screws, two of the screws right there. I never got the hardware out. This actually may incentivize me to get the hardware out, and that's going to be quite an interesting set of videos if I end up going that route. But if I need to go into surgery and get put under for anything in the future, I will ask them, hey, while I'm under, go ahead and just remove the freaking hardware so I don't have to deal with it anymore. But again, I don't know if necessarily that is causing anything, or maybe the break itself and the setting of it has somehow put additional pressure on a blood vessel or anything like that. But I do notice that it is painful to wear a strap. And I've gotten these, I haven't tried them yet. They're still in their wrapper. These Neotech straps. They've got the neoprene. It's padded. It's wider. I know a lot of people that have shoulder issues kind of swear by these. So I'll be giving those a try, especially with what's in here, because that's a resonator banjo, not an open back. So this is going to be with a tone ring. So this is going to be heavier, probably twice as much heavier at the very least than this. So I'm going to need something when I eventually switch back, because I don't know if I want to keep it on the right shoulder. For one, the banjo's all over the place. It's really unbalanced, especially if I'm standing up. Having it like this, I don't know how some banjo players wear their banjo on the right shoulder and stand up without, because it wants to swing down so badly. One of the things that even sitting is kind of hard. I've had to get, let me grab it. Let me grab it here. This thing is kind of like a footstool, adjustable. I actually got it for my wife when she got her guitar, and I'm bogarting it so I can use it while I play the banjo. It might as well just be a brick, but you know, whatever. You spend your money on your wife, right? Get that back down there, and that helps prop my knee up and gives me an inner thigh to rest the pot or the rim of the banjo to brace it so it doesn't swing back. And that allows me to kind of no hands get the banjo where I want, and allow me to just focus on that right hand technique where I can let my left hand just drop at its side, relax. I will say this again, I'm trying to be positive about this injury. And again, I like the idea that I'm going to be focusing quite a bit on my right hand technique, which I think needs help right now. So this is perfect. But the other thing that I've noticed and I've complained about before in videos is the type of tension that I get. I feel really tense. I look at old videos of mine and I see that pinky just like rigid out. And this is forcing me to relax. Um, Playing really light, fretting really light is not not necessarily a negative. And I get it, it's buzzy, but sometimes it's not. Like if I'm on my game and I'm being really accurate with my fretting, just getting the tip of that finger right in the sweet spot of where it needs to be when I'm fretting, I can actually get that string to tone right, to sound right, get that note out, and I'm still fretting really, really light. And I think in the long run, this is going to be beneficial for my technique as well. Additionally, my understanding is this particular banjo, um, you don't have to fret it so hard, not as hard as this maybe. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll find that out, and once I hit 1,000 hours. Anyway, so that's what's going on. It's the golfer's elbow. I'm on this routine. I will keep you guys posted on how it's going. I've got lots of video content to go, but to put out lots of different ideas for YouTube videos, on the challenges and the things that I'm trying. I mean, I have a whole video that I want to do on the picks that I'm using. I've actually been experimenting with a lot of strings because one of the things that I thought was to put lighter strings on here, and boy, that was weird. I want to do a video on how that experience was. There may not be a lot of good playing, and I apologize for that. But maybe, just maybe, this whole experience will allow me to produce really good music later on down the road. So, golfer's elbow, challenge accepted. All right, guys. I will see you next time. I've got a lot of practice to do because the more practice I get in, the closer I get to opening that box. And that too will be its own video. All right. See you next time. Bye.